Thank you. So it took me about 35 years to realize how terrible I was at expressing gratitude. Seems like a long time to me, but it took a little while to get there because my wife, who is here in the audience today, so if this all goes off the rails, it's her fault that I'm here today, because none of this would have happened without her. My wife was a part of a women's class at our church, and they were going through a series on gratitude. Because I'm not a woman, I wasn't invited. But I got to get the Cliff Notes version. After every session, she would come home and I'd get the Cliff Notes version. And I started to realize, as I'm listening to her talk about gratitude and what they're talking about in their class, that I felt like I was a pretty thankful person. Like I felt like I was aware of the things that I was thankful for, but I did a really crummy job of actually expressing it, of sharing that with someone else. And I started to think that was kind of a cheat. I felt like I was stealing something, right? So here I've got this gratitude. I'm so thankful for X, Y, and Z. But if I never let you know about it, I feel like I'm taking something from you. That's sort of what I felt like. And I began to wonder what I could do about that and what I needed to do to sort of reconcile this imbalance that I was feeling. So this is the end of 2011. It's about December, and I decide, I don't call this a New Year's resolution because it wasn't a New Year's resolution. But I decided that in 2012, I'm going to set a goal to send a thank you card to somebody every business day of the year. So that's about 260 thank you cards. So we're going from 0 to 260. I probably should have started somewhere in the middle, but as I go through this talk, you'll understand that I'm not too bright. So I own a printing company in Fairbanks, and I decide that what I want to do is start making my own thank you cards. So in addition to not having sent thank you cards before and trying to set this lofty goal to send a bunch, I decide that I'm also going to make them myself. So I start designing some cards, some of which are on the screen. Not all of those are mine. Some of these are some wonderful artists that we've had make cards for us. But I decide that I'm going to make some cards and try to infuse my personality in this a little bit. I don't want to just go buy cards off the shelf, even though that's perfectly fine. I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I start making these cards. And as I'm sending them, I start to notice that it's not just a discipline anymore after the first week or two. It's not just something that is a sort of a rote process where I sit down to do my thank you card for the day and it's very robotic. I start to notice that I start to change as a result of sending these cards. So I've had this first change where I realized that I need to be better about expressing gratitude. And now I'm experiencing this other change where I start to recognize that it's hard, really hard, and I tried really hard, but it's hard to be thankful and selfish at the same time. I'm good at selfish. I'm really good at selfish. But it's really hard to be thankful and selfish at the same time because thankfulness forces you to look outside of you. It forces you to say there's someone or something outside of me that matters. Amazing, right? And it also made me realize that I need people. I'm an introvert. I'm somebody who kind of values solitude, and I like to work on projects, especially creative projects. I like to work on things alone. I like to have sort of time to myself to process things and to work on things. But I began to realize that even all these things that I was doing, quote unquote, alone, there were all these other people who were participating in it in some way. There were these people that maybe inspired me or encouraged me. And I start to realize that I'm not doing these things alone. I may enjoy the time to myself, but it wasn't just me. And that then makes me think, well, if I need people, maybe people need me. Maybe there's something that I should be adding back to the people around me. Thank you cards is a good way to start. But we all have something. We all have something that we're good at, something that is a strength for us. And maybe that's something that you can share. So 2012 comes to a close, and I have sent out just over 275 thank you cards. So I did it. I made it. And I've had this sort of internal change where I feel like I have learned something about gratitude. I like to think of myself as a practitioner. I don't know if you ever become an expert at gratitude. but I'm a practitioner. I'm working on it. And I'm happy to say that that wasn't the most exciting thing that I got to work on that year. That was kind of a big deal for me. But I want to take you back, because this isn't really a story about me. This is a story about a community, okay? And I like to brag on Fairbanks a little bit. It's fun to come to the big city and brag on Fairbanks. But and there are a few Fairbanks people in the audience today, which is exciting. But this is a story about a community that did something great. I just got to be a part of it. So in early 2012, as I'm starting to send out these cards, I'm amassing 10, 12 different designs as I go. And I start to think, it would be kind of fun to share these maybe. You know, we've got all these resources here at this printing company to very inexpensively reproduce these cards. What if there was some sort of way that we could share these with people? We thought they were interesting, they're quirky and unusual. I thought it was kind of cool. So I'm kicking the tires on this idea, and eventually in March, I go to my business partner and I say, what if we just gave them away? And the fun thing about working for or running a small business is that you get to make crazy decisions on the spot. We didn't really have to run it up the corporate ladder or cut through any red tape or anything like that. We just got to go. So within about 30 minutes, we have it all sorted out. And we put together the broad strokes of a project we called Thanks Fairbanks. And Thanks Fairbanks, the simple idea, and it really is simple, is that we were going to let people sign up, people from Fairbanks. We had to limit the scope a little bit. We were going to let people sign up, and we would give them 3 free thank you cards on the spot, and then every 3 months, we were going to send 3 more new cards to everybody on the list. And I tell you, the hardest part about all of this is that no one believes in free. No one believes anything is really free, and I get it, I understand. But you wouldn't imagine the weird faces we get from people who are like, but what's the catch? No, we're your neighbors here. We're not trying to do anything shady. We really just want to share this with you. So we start this project. It takes us 6 weeks, maybe 2 months before we send our first distribution of cards. And in that time, I'm a bit of a worrier. I'm somebody who I can find the problems in a situation really fast. And so I'm convinced that one of 2 things are going to happen as we launch this. And the first possibility is that no one will sign up. The second possibility is that everyone in Fairbanks will sign up. Now, Fairbanks isn't as big as Anchorage, but still, that would be a lot to start with. So, of course, that didn't happen. We were very fortunate, and we had a sort of a small group of people who had connected with the idea, and we got to kind of fail quietly as we figured out the logistics of how to do it all. Again, this isn't our core business, is mailing thank you cards to people, but it's something that we wanted to share. So we got to learn in front of a small group of people. And it wasn't until about 6 months in, after our second distribution, that I got the phone call that really changed things for me. And this woman calls, I'm going about my duties at work, and I get this call from a woman, I don't know her from anybody. And she says, you know, I just wanted to thank you for this thank you card program you're doing. She's like, my 15-year-old son and I were in your store, and we signed up for the cards, and my son signed up too because he liked the designs. And the other day he comes to me, it's over the weekend, he comes to me and he says, where are my thank you cards because I want to send one to Nana. 15-year-old boy, okay? That's not generally 15-year-old boy territory that, you know, I want to find my thank you cards to send one to Nana. And she was really moved by that. And what I took away from that was not how great we were, but that, wow, someone's behavior changed because of this little thing. Someone did something they might not normally do because of this simple little idea. And it really is, whenever I think about it, when people compliment us for it, I almost feel backwards and bad because like it really is, it's just a simple thing. But it's something that we can do and it's something that we can share. And that call really made me understand that this wasn't going to be ours. This was going to be the community's. This was going to be something that was driven by the people who participated in it. Not us. We were going to be caretakers. We were facilitators. We'll handle the logistics. And that call immediately sort of set a series of events in motion. And I still don't think, I've spoken to this woman since then, but I still don't think she really gets what that call meant. You know, you ever have that moment in your life where somebody does something or says something to you, and it's like they're never going to fully understand what that meant, how important that was to you. So we started talking to artists in Fairbanks, and some of them are shown on here. One of our artists in Fairbanks became an artist in Anchorage a little while ago, so we miss him. But people who would contribute to this project, some people we did trades with, some people just wanted to share the artwork, to be a part of the process. In 2013, I had a great fortune of doing kind of what I'm doing right now and talking about it, being able to share how gratitude can change people with groups all around Fairbanks. And we had a really sort of strange and interesting event a month ago when 13 cheerleaders from a high school in town came in to help us put one of the distributions together. We're at about 660 subscribers now, so there are close to 2,000 cards that get stuffed into 660 envelopes. And so we've got 13 cheerleaders around this giant table, and it was the loudest, most raucous. My parents usually come in and help put these distributions together. They're very quiet. There are two of them sitting very quietly at a table. This was not like that, but it was so much fun. It was a wonderful expression of the community saying, we want to take part in that. And it's exciting to be able to report that last month we sent out our 10,000th free card. I'm super proud of that, not because I'm proud of what we did, but because I'm proud of my community. And I began to realize that change that happened in me, that personal, here's how colliding with gratitude made me a little different, that this project was an opportunity to reach people in that same way. That maybe someone, because they get these cards, are going to think about gratitude differently. Maybe someone who gets one of these cards from one of our subscribers is going to be impacted by gratitude in a powerful way. I don't know if you've ever received a thank you card, but it feels good. If you haven't, start dropping hints to your friends. And it feels good to send them too. It's kind of addictive. And there are biochemical reasons why it feels good. And to have a community where that caught on and where people are operating differently. I got to ask a bunch of people a bunch of really cool questions about how the project has affected them as a result of this talk. And people are talking about keeping thank you cards in their purse so they can stick them on people's windshields when they see somebody do something nice at the grocery store. People who keep stamped envelopes in their purse or their briefcase or their glove box so that they're ready at a moment's notice to send a card when they see something or that when someone does something important. I bought a couple suits yesterday. You know, the first thing I thought of when I got into bed last night, that woman that helped me at the suit store, I've got to send her a thank you card because that's hard. For a guy that dresses, this is about as nice as I normally dress, buying suits is hard work. But what about you? You probably don't own a printing company, I'm guessing. Only a few of you live in Fairbanks. So what does this mean to you? Well, what I want to leave you with, what I want you to take away, is that it starts with you. You have a choice to be the person that begins a change in your community. I firmly believe that the world is changed by communities being changed, by people being changed. You're not going to go out and you're not going to convince 1,000 of your friends, 1,000 friends, that would be really something, 1,000 of your friends to go become advocates for gratitude. But maybe if you change, maybe if you say, you know what, gratitude matters. Gratitude changes the way that I think about my community. It changes the way I think about my issues. Maybe someone else is going to see that, and that's going to impact them. So we've got almost 700 subscribers right now, right? 700 subscribers, that means there's a reach of 2,800 people when we send out a distribution. Your 700 primaries, and then 3 cards to each of them, 2,100 people beyond that. You have reach as well. When you change, when you begin to express your gratitude, you have the opportunity to change everybody that you are sharing that message with. You don't have to be an advocate and stand up on a stage and do it. You just have to say thank you. So today, before you leave here, I'm going to guess that almost everyone has a device in their pocket that allows them to communicate to somebody else in the world, right? Almost every one of you do. Go through your contacts list, find somebody. If you can't find one person in your contact list that you're thankful for, we need to talk in the foyer or in the lobby. I'll help you, I'll give you somebody. But I know you can find somebody to thank before you leave here. And if you're weird like me, you'll do things like you'll put a recurring note on your calendar that says, who do I need to thank today? Once a week, once every other day, whatever. A reminder, because I'm selfish. I think of me first. That's what pops up for me first. I have to be reminded sometimes that there's a world beyond my little, what's in my head. So my challenge to you today is to change the world by changing your community, by changing yourself. My challenge for you is to be the first domino to fall. Thank you.